Happy Monday. Thank you for joining me for this week's Weekly Wisdom. Now, just a side note before we get started into this week, things that I never thought I would have to do. I had to rearrange my pug so that you can't hear her snoring. So if she does rearrange herself back and you can start hearing her snoring, apologies. She's my office mate. She gets mad when I kick her out of the office. Now, this is the final week that we are going to be talking about lessons learned for my daughter's Taekwondo. And this, I thought the last week was going to be the last week, but whenever we went to karate this week, something amusing and kind of eye-opening happened that I wanted to share. And then next week, we're going to be jumping into some exciting stuff about a 2-year, 50 million person experiment in the workplace. So make sure and tune in. All right, so let's talk about what happened with my daughter. We were at Taekwondo. She was doing her thing, loving it, very intent. But one thing, if you know me or you know my husband, you know that grace, physical grace, is not one of our strengths. And unfortunately to our baby, we passed it on. So sorry about that. All of the kids had to go around in a circle around some cones and they had to skip. Yep. And Levita doesn't know how to skip. And so her teacher was getting frustrated and he's like, Levita, skip. Levita, I need you to skip. Finally, she stopped right in front of him, looked up at him and says, I don't know how. And he was a little taken aback by that because, I mean, honestly, what kids don't know how to skip, right? My kid does not know how to skip. And he called a halt to what they were doing. About a minute later, he didn't want to single her out, which I appreciated that, and called a halt. And then he had the other kids do something, and he brought Levita to the side, and he showed her how to skip. I should have gotten it recorded because y'all, her trying to skip was so cute, but it was awkward. It was like watching a pony try and walk for the first time, right? But she did it more and she did it more. And you could see this sense of pride in her that now she understood what he was asking for and she was delivering on it. And he was reinforcing that, even though it was awkward, even though it was wobbly, he was reinforcing the fact that she was trying really hard. And so as leaders, as we go through these things, how often are we listening to our employees when they're like, I don't know how to skip, or I don't know how to, or I'm uncomfortable with? How often do we listen and immediately dismiss it as they're just making excuses? I had a brilliant leader when I worked at Walt Disney World. And if you're not familiar, Disney is unionized. And so anytime you were dealing with discipline, you had to deal with the union, and that was not a comfortable experience for the leader. It was a very uncomfortable experience for the leader. And so a lot of times leaders would just kind of step back and avoid that confrontation because they didn't want to be brought up in front of the union. And my leader noticed that I was starting to shy away from conflict. And she was like, look, here's the deal. When you need somebody to do something, always give them the benefit of the doubt that very first time that they don't understand what it is that you need them to do. And the example that I will give is smiling. We would have to work with cast members to teach them that they had to smile consistently at the happiest place on earth. It's for another story. And so we would go up to this cast member and we would say, hey, we are the happiest place on earth. We need you to smile. We would set clear, very clear expectations as to what that looked like. But the first time was always the benefit of the doubt that they did not understand what was expected of them. The second time it was, hey, remember when we had that conversation about smiling and we both agreed that you were going to smile more? I haven't really been seeing that happening. Kind of walk me through what's going on. How can I help you do this? That was the second time. Opening the conversation, letting them know, yes, we do see this. How can I assist? Then if they need assistance, listening and offering it when it was something that made sense that we could do, right? We're not going to send you to a smiling training class in Japan because you think that would be the best thing for you. That's just not realistic. But if you need some help remembering to smile, right? You have the RBF, that resting boss face thing. Yeah, we're going to assist you with that. We're going to figure out a process. Then the third time, hey, you haven't been smiling. We've already had this conversation a few times. Just so you know, if we have to have this conversation again, it will lead to discipline. This is what that process looks like. So laying out exactly what was going to happen next. Then the fourth time was when we started documenting and going into the disciplinary process. And so as leaders, when you're going through, are you saying something and then just expecting the behavior to change without giving your employees the benefit of the doubt and the resources that they need? Are you just assuming, oh, I know that, so I don't understand why they don't know that? Or are you being like my daughter's teacher, giving her the information that she needed, and then that positive reinforcement while she was trying to figure it out, and it was awkward and it was clunky, but she was trying to figure it out. Be like her teacher. Listen. Have conversations. Build the pride in your employees as they are trying something new and awkward and uncomfortable. Because kids are sponges. They're like, yes, teach me everything. I don't care if it's awkward. Adults, we have egos and a lot of other things to contend with. But the most important lesson from what we have talked about today, give them the benefit of the doubt the first time. The very first time that you have the conversation, give them the benefit of the doubt. Show them what is expected of them, no matter how elementary it seems to you. When you do that, you create a level playing field. Everybody understands what expectations are, and then you can build up from there. So thank you very much for joining me this week for this week's Weekly Wisdom. Next week, I should be joining you in some traveling, so that'll be fun. And have an amazing week. Don't forget, as always, you got this. I'll see you next week.